Lock the place up tight. I don't want any surprises till I get there in the morning.
6 guys to lift 1 stiff. That's one for the books.
Help! I'm trapped. Ah! Help me!
Since the authorities haven't been able to produce a body, do you think Michael's alive or dead?
Will he kill again?
Let me make things clear. Michael Myers is dead. D-E-A-D.
So, how are you feeling?
Nightmares are chewing at my head again. They just seem to be getting worse.
I've had 4 calls about Michael Myers today, all in the space of 10 minutes.
Are you a giant?
I know he's not gonna come back just because of some stupid holiday. I need you to call 911. We're at 15 Cherry. Maya, what's happening?
Nurse.
Evil is here.
I'm not me. Who are you then? I'm Michael Myers' sister. He's gonna kill me.
It's going to be all right. It's going to be fine.
No,
Listen.
it's not.
Welcome to They Call This a Movie, testing the strength of friendships, one terrible movie at a time. Subscribe to the podcast on iTunes and other podcast services by searching They Call This a Movie, and find us on Twitter and Instagram at TicTamPod. That's TCTAM Pod. Welcome back to They Call This a Movie. This is Anthony Del Vecchio. With me, as always, is Dan Aquino and Mark Meyer. Say hello, gentlemen.
Hey, guys.
Hello. As I am wont to do on this podcast, I will embarrass myself with the fact that I just found out this week that I probably should have known my whole life, but I have a slight excuse for it. I didn't realize that the cereal Fruit Loops was spelled F-R-O-O-T-L-O-O-P-S.
Okay.
I thought it was spelled like fruit as in fruit, you know, and it is not. And I feel like this is information I should have known decades ago, but yeah.
It's a cereal, so I wouldn't look too deep into it.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't feel
when's
too bad.
when's the last time you had Fruit Loops, Mark?
That is my excuse, is that I'm not really a Fruit Loops kind of guy. So that wouldn't have been like reading it as a kid, but I've gone grocery shopping for either me or me and my grandma for at least 15, 20 years at this point. You would think at some point I would have seen it in the cereal aisle as I walked by.
I'm not gonna say that I didn't know, but also I wouldn't I'm not stringing up the noose, and ending everything if I found out.
Yeah, no, I'm not sad. It's just like
I'm asking
Yeah.
you not to kill yourself on this podcast because of this. That's what I'm asking, Mark.
This is definitely like something you would see on Twitter. Like I was today years old when I found out.
Yeah. I've
And-
dialed 9 and 1, Mark. I'm just waiting for things to go south to hit that other one.
The reason I found out about it was somebody was making fun of someone on Twitter, because they used Fruit Loops to yell at the St. Louis Cardinals about having a Pride Night. And the guy said, yeah, the idiot doesn't even know it's spelled F-R-O-O-T. And I'm like, son of a bitch.
Damn.
So that's how I found out. But yeah, it was, I've subscribed to the thing in my life that the day you don't learn something new is the day that you should look forward to the end, because you should learn something every day you get up, small or big. And Monday was Fruit Loops for me. That was the thing that kept me going. So you can hang up the phone app.
Okay. Well, that was Monday. We're on Wednesday. Did you learn anything today?
Yeah, I learned today that if you put too much cream cheese into a cheese sauce, it just tastes like cream cheese and not a cheese sauce. So I learned that today.
Gotcha. That you should have known. So maybe
Yeah.
I should dial that one.
That was one where I'm going, this just tastes like colored cream cheese.
I'm going to go out on a limb and just say Mark is still kind of scatterbrained from his team making the fall classic, so he's kind of head in the clouds. You can't blame him.
Yeah, we'll go with that, Dan.
Yeah.
It sounds like he's blaming himself, which I'm not going to stop him.
I'm giving him the out. I'll be the nice guy here.
Yeah. That makes it even weirder, Dan.
Okay. Besides Mark's revelations, we do have a podcast episode to record here, and this week is our final episode of October, which is crazy because it feels like October just started. I feel like I haven't watched nearly enough horror movies this month, but alas, time stops for no man. But this week we are recording our episode on our October movie of the month, which we pitted 3 movies against each other on Twitter, and our Twitter followers voted on that poll. This month's theme was Halloween sequels. We have Halloween Ends in the stratosphere, people talking about it. It's on everyone's minds. It kind of sucks. So we decided to pit 3 terrible Halloween sequels against each other. We went Halloween 5, we went Halloween H2O, I believe.
Yeah, the Josh Hartnett one.
And then we went with our winner, which I believe was Dan's pick. And it was Halloween 2 by director Rob Zombie. So I want to kick it to Dan. What made you pick this movie, and where are you coming from with it?
Sure. So coming from, I've seen this movie one other time. I saw it in theaters when it came out in, I believe it was 2009.
Mhm.
And okay, yeah, that's good. I still got it. I just remember seeing the original, or not the original, the first Rob Zombie Halloween, and I didn't hate it. I was like, all right, he's taking it in a different direction. I didn't love it, but I thought, it intrigued me enough where I would have seen the second one. And I just remember being so confused by this movie and thinking this isn't Halloween. This is not a Halloween movie. So I picked it because, to me, I haven't seen all of the Halloween movies. I've seen quite a few, but this one just really stuck out as something that went off the rails from scene 1 and never looked back. And it was just Rob Zombie kind of, it's almost like a masturbatory Halloween movie for him. Like, how much can I get away with here? And I figured it was good enough to be put into the poll.
Okay. Mark, what about you? Where are you coming from with?
So I haven't seen either of these movies in this series. So there were some aspects to this movie that obviously, since it was a direct continuation, that I had to play catch up with while playing. But my reaction to this movie can be best summed up by one of our favorite EMTs. And I would just say, fuck, 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 fuck. Yeah, that made me laugh out loud because it really felt like that maybe there was supposed to be a cut at some point in that rant, because I went back and actually watched it twice, because I watched that this section because I actually started it while I was like setting up dinner, so I didn't have to pay attention to the first 20 minutes or so. And I think I counted like at least 8 or 9 or 10 fucks that he says in a row before saying another word. So yeah, it really felt like one of those Neil Breen moments where they just keep repeating things over and over again because they're supposed to cut. But yeah, the things I hated was that this very much felt like, I think Dan kind of alluded to it. It felt like a Rob Zombie movie more than a Halloween movie. And I don't really have too much fondness for Rob Zombie movies in general. I think I only liked one of them, the one after House of a Thousand Corpses, because I did not like that.
The Devil's Rejects.
Yeah. So I like that. I just had a couple questions for you guys, just from a non-story, just a technical thing, because I watched this on Peacock. Was the sound low for dialogue for you? And I don't know if you watched it on Peacock.
I did watch it on Peacock. I do have some comments on the audio in certain moments.
Okay.
The first scene in the mental hospital when he's talking to his mom sounds like they shot it on a shotgun mic only.
Okay.
Because there's like background noise and it just sounds like terrible.
Yeah, because a movie usually sits a good 20 to 22 on the volume scale on my TV, and I had to have this almost near 30 to just understand what they were saying.
I didn't have that issue.
Yeah, I don't know what it was, because normally, I have no problem, but yeah, I had to, keep it at a pretty loud, which the jump scare moments was more pain than jump scare.
Sure.
Because it would just be really loud. But thank God I watched with subtitles, so I was able to, figure out what they were saying, as I was fumbling with the audio. But also, I didn't like this. I guess it would be the art style, like the really dreary, I guess that's the Rob Zombie-ness of it. The very gritty, look to the film, everything looks real grimy.
Yeah, everything's dirty in this movie.
Yeah, I didn't like that, and I don't know. I don't know if both of you have seen the original, the first one, but I feel like they made a really terrible choice with the way they made Laurie look in this, compared to just looking kind of hippie-ish, and in the sense that just looking real dirty more than. I don't know if this is supposed to be some transformation from the first movie. Sure. And that's why she's looking like this, because I know what the actress looks like, and it just looks like it's definitely a Rob Zombie choice here for that. But overall, I didn't really scare me at all. There was, a few chuckle moments, but it was more boring than anything. The reveal of, who Laurie really is was kind of dumb and stupid, and I don't know why they chose that.
Okay, great. For me, this is the first time I've seen it. I've seen the first Halloween from Zombie maybe twice, or maybe like 1.5 times. I think I got it on Netflix when I was still getting DVDs from Netflix once. And I think I watched like the first 40 minutes and then I checked out and sent it back. And then I think I watched it again maybe a couple of years ago during October. I don't really love the first one. I think the addition of the backstory really hampers it. Because again, like Mark said and what Dan alluded to, this feels like a Rob Zombie movie because he can't help but just make everybody absolute white trash. Like Laurie is absolute white trash in this movie. What she's done, like the one thing that was going through my head is like the Brackets have brought her into their home, and she has absolutely destroyed that bedroom. That's unforgivable.
It's disgusting in there.
It's fucking gross. Like there's graffiti all over the wall. She has a poster of Charles Manson, which I
Yes.
would think she would want to stay away from, idolizing a serial killer or mass murderer, or however you want to classify Charles Manson, because I know he didn't technically kill anybody, but that's
A CIA informant.
that's the biggest of all technicalities in the entire world.
I was gonna touch on that later. Like that's a poor choice of posters.
Yeah, and just like that's a huge fuck you to Brackett. Having said that, I thought I was going to hate this movie more than I did. The parts that I disliked are Rob Zombie's in his just the things he can't stop doing. Basically, everybody's white trash, just uber violent for no like. It becomes a point where it's just like, all right, I get it. It's a let's dial it back a little bit. Sherry Moon, I mean, there's a point like he's gone too far at this point, right? He can't not cast his wife in a movie anymore. He has to do it at this point, right?
Yeah, it's a staple.
Yeah.
I had written down he's Zombie is the horror version of Adam Sandler.
Right.
Because he has pretty much everyone from the Munsters movie.
Yep.
Is in this movie.
Yeah.
I think the guy who plays Herman plays dual roles.
He does play two roles. Yep.
So yeah, it's just he's bringing his buddies along.
But just imagine having that conversation. Rob Zombie writes a new script. Sherry's like, "Oh, what you write there?" And he's like, "Ah, blah blah blah. It's this." And I'm like, "Oh, what role am I going to play?" What's he going to say? Well, you know what? I think this time I'm just going to do it myself. Like, how's like you imagine yourself in those shoes trying to have that conversation. You've cast your wife now in like 12 movies.
Yeah.
It's you've gone too far at this point.
Yeah. So, you've dug yourself a hole and you can't get out of it.
You can't. You just got to accept it. But there are some things I did like in this movie. I like Brad Dourif as Brackett. I think just in general, having Brad Dourif in your movie, on board 100%.
Yep.
I like, so while I was looking on Letterboxd for the reviews, I saw a common theme come up about people likening this to Firewalk with Me, the Twin Peaks movie, and what they were. So I did some investigating of what the comparison is, and having seen Firewalk with Me, I have, but it's been some time. And basically, what they were saying was both movies are the result is the protagonist, a female protagonist, dealing with and self-destructing after a traumatic experience. Laura Palmer in Firewalk with Me is dealing with the fact that she was sexually assaulted by her father constantly, and how she devolves her character from there, and and that's basically how she deals with that. And in this, Lori is basically devolving and deconstructing her own life based on the trauma that she experienced in the first one. So I like that idea in terms of a story element to it. I also like how much of a shitheel Loomis is in this movie.
Oh, I didn't like that.
How he's basically become just an opportunist and real slimy. I like that as a change. You know, Dr. Loomis. Oh, God.
I was going to say, when you hire that actor, that's how the role's got to go.
Malcolm McDowell?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. It seemed it didn't fit. It's such a tonal reversal for the character.
I will say that it's in its own movie. It is not in the same movie that the rest of the movie is in, because it plays, once again, it plays for comedy at some points. And if I didn't learn it from watching The Munsters, I learned it here. Rob Zombie does not know how to write comedy.
I don't think he knows how to write dialogue.
Well, that too.
Yeah, it's major malfunctions in those two areas.
Yes, but just he does what he does very well. Whether or not you like all his movies, because I'm like Mark, I really enjoy. I think The Devil's Rejects is a very good Rob Zombie movie. It's like the best version of a Rob Zombie movie you can have. I hate House of a Thousand Corpses. I think that's garbage, which is so funny because they're so tied together. But yeah, but just like the scenes the scenes of him on the couch with Chris Hardwick, because it's fucking 2009. Of course, it's Chris Hardwick and Weird Al just just fall so flat.
Yeah, what that comes out of left field, that scene and
Yeah.
those two people.
Yeah.
And I get having Chris Hardwick in there because he was in the House of a Thousand Corpses.
Yeah.
But is there any other reason to have Weird Al Yankovic in there?
No, it just maybe seemed like they're buddies.
Yeah, that would be the only reason I could think of.
Yeah, because there's a lot of people in this movie. I mean, Margot Kidder plays the therapist.
Mm-hmm.
We got Howard Hessman playing the boss. We got a couple of people from Sons of Anarchy, which
Patrick from SpongeBob is in this.
Patrick from SpongeBob comes out of fucking nowhere at the end.
At the end.
Oh yeah,
he's one of the cops.
Yep. Dauber from Coach.
That's
that happens to be a deputy.
Yep.
Yeah. Who's the other one? Young Octavia Spencer.
That's right.
Is that
as Nurse Octavia?
Octavia.
That's
Very original, Rob.
That cracked me up. I'm like, is it her talking or is it her character talking? Is it in the
subtitle?
In the subtitles,
Yeah,
it's the Octavia speaking or Octavia screaming. They couldn't come up with a name, but in the credits, her name is Nurse Danielle.
Oh, is she really?
Yeah, I don't know why that didn't move over to the closed captioning, but whatever.
The person doing the closed captioning was like, "Oh, I know her. She's Octavia Spencer."
Octavia Spencer.
I didn't catch her name though.
Yeah, I agree with you, Ant, that I think Brad Dourif is easily the best character in this, and he's the one who's giving like the straight straight acting, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's not over the top. He's not doing anything for laughs. He's 100% dead serious, and it works for that character. I thought Lori, or Angel, which they dump pretty quickly. She learns her name is Angel, and then everyone just keeps calling her Lori, so that goes out the window.
Well, I mein, it is the first night she knows that that's her name. It's not like she's gonna.
Yeah, no one else would really know.
Yeah.
But I kind of felt like she was not the actress. The character was unbearable in this movie. Just constant screaming and crying. You could barely understand a word she's saying. And maybe that's going back to what you guys were talking about with the audio mixing.
Mm-hmm.
But it's for instance, at the beginning when she's in the hospital and she's trying to escape and she's screaming at the guard that someone's trying to kill her. She's incoherent. You can't understand a word she's trying to say. And the actor, I can't remember his name, but he's been in a bunch of movies.
Richard Reel.
Yes, he's been in a whole lot of stuff. But I think in the movie his name is Buddy, but he's like, no, it's fine. It's gonna be fine. It's gonna be fine. And she's just at the top of her lungs screaming. And Jen and I were looking at each other like, if she just kind of calmed down and said, someone's outside trying to kill me, maybe it would have gone differently. But I just thought it's a slog. This movie is a slog. It's only an hour 45 minutes, but I was constantly checking in and out. And because, as Ant alluded to, it just became, how many bodies can Michael pile up here? And right off the bat, you could see what all Rob Zombie cares about is just showing you graphic images. At the beginning, they're showing Lori being brought into the hospital, and they're cutting her clothes off, and you're just seeing all the cuts and bruises. Her hands are all fucked up. So it's like, did we need to see that? Probably not. Could just have her, shown her in getting wheeled into the hospital and then recovering. And then just random acts of violence.
Yeah.
On
a ridiculous scale, I'll say.
Yeah, and I want to go back to something Ant was talking about in terms of, I guess the mental state of Lori. And I don't know the exact thing that made me think of this, Ant, but I was thinking during the movie that it would be a cool twist if this is like your Jaws 2 theory, where it's just her going crazy, and maybe she's like sort of a little bit of a Nightmare on Elm Street 2 sort of thing, where she's the one killing everyone. they kind of allude to that slightly when she thinks she's being held by the little boy when she's just driving around. But I think the whole movie would have been much more interesting if when he goes inside the cabin, if it's just her driving around in there. Like, there's no Michael, there's nothing, and, whether Rob Zombie wanted to put the mask on her while she's driving around, whatever, he kind of does it at the end, stupidly. But yeah, I thought that would have been a better outcome for this movie, because at no point does anyone else see Michael that is currently living.
Right. That's a good point, Mark. We didn't touch on Michael at all in this, at least yet. What did you guys think about Michael in this?
What do I think about Michael in this? That's a fair question. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what I think about it. I think it's just brutal, right? That's really the point of him. He's just this unstoppable force of nature. He doesn't, as much as they want to give him a character more than he's ever been, they don't really do so. All his characterization is from his ghost version of himself, the younger version of himself, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
And
I didn't like that.
No, me personally, it's a storytelling thing. I do not like visions of loved ones from beyond the grave. Just as a thing that's just always comes off as so corny to me. And this movie is no different. Then the white horse thing is kind of stupid. It's like,
man,
when you have to start your movie explaining in a title card what your motif means, it's like not a good motif.
No, it holds no place in a Halloween movie. There's no need to get deeper into it. It's like Anthony said, it's about a unstoppable force of evil, and he's pointed in a direction, and anything in that path, it's going down in a brutal way. I hated how they gave him the backstory of just, he's white trash. His mom was a stripper and his dad was an abusive drunk, and he was just a bad guy. He's a bad kid. That's it. That's not Michael Myers. It was just the whole point of Michael Myers is he's evil incarnate. Sometimes there is no explanation for evil. It's just evil shows up and it takes the shape of this, and that's Michael Myers, not some redneck kid who got bullied and had a bad upbringing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll say that's the first movie. Then they just the original Halloween is that he's a unstoppable pure evil that is just doing it because it's something to do. Basically, there's no reason for anything.
Yeah,
and
they continue that in this.
Right, but they've spent every other sequel trying to explain everything, right?
Yeah. I think Zombie is trying to make in the first and the second movie, he's trying to make Michael more of a sympathetic killer in a way, where like, oh yeah, his life sucked. He was bullied, and this is what's happening now, because they have the ending in this is just so fucking messy, where Laurie is all of a sudden seeing the mom and the young Michael Myers in the barn. And then she's like, I love you, brother, and comes out with the mask. And I don't, what was he getting at? I don't understand is she shedding the Michael Myers persona? Is that what it was?
Can't say that is, because the very end is she's basically, it's alluding to the fact that she is basically walking the same path as him. Right? She's in the psychiatric ward.
That's right.
And she sees her mom walking towards her with the white horse.
Right.
And it's got that sinister smile on her face.
So now I guess maybe that's the transference happening. It's such a fucking mess.
Which goes back to my thing where they would have just made it was all her in her head. That ending makes sense.
Right.
It reveals that, thing at the end.
You get a little bit of like a high tension. I don't know if you've seen that movie.
Yeah.
Mark,
no.
Where it's these two women are like they take a vacation to one of the friends' houses, and there's all of a sudden this killer comes out and it is like brutalizing the family, and it turns out it's one of the girls that is on the vacation. It's not an actual killer that It's
Yeah.
basically the woman made up this killer, but it's her.
Yeah.
That would be I think that would have been a better plot line.
Yeah, because everything, even in that final scene at the shack, lends you to do that in the movie.
Yeah.
Like he shoots someone that looks like he has the mask. So all you do, she kills the doctor in there, and then walks out with the mask on and a bullet wound. And there you go. Because you don't have to explain anything. Because like I said, Michael is not seen by anybody who's currently alive. It's just. Yeah, they missed an opportunity because I guess Rob Zombie thought he'd get a third movie to tell that story when he could have just done it here and been done with it.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the history is with like his contract and everything like that. Was there ever an expectation that there was going to be a third? I'm sure if this made $300 million, that would have been on the table. But
I think that's a good idea, Mark. Where because it also Laurie has a reason for killing Loomis in this, right? Because his book kind of turned her world upside down, as we find out, because she's not who she thinks she was. So if he enters into the cabin, she kills him. Yeah, that kind of brings it full circle instead of just having him go in for no reason to be killed by Michael, right? They're like, why? He could have just stayed outside and like, Laurie needs to do this on her own. She needs to beat Michael on her own in a way.
Mm-hmm. It also is sort of set up by her constant hallucinations in the first half of the movie that then kind of disappear.
Man,
like besides her mom's, like there's that whole scene where she envisions herself killing Annie, right?
Yeah, that's true.
She never has something like that ever again.
I got to tell you, I hated the beginning because when she's in the hospital and Michael comes and is killing everyone. And it turns out it's just this 20-minute long dream sequence.
Now, I'm not sure if it's a dream, like a proper dream, or if all those things happen and that she's dreaming about it happening,
Oh, she's present in the hospital when this is going down.
What I'm saying is those things happened, but now she's just reliving it in her dreams.
Gotcha. Okay. But then everyone was saying they couldn't find the body of Michael. So wouldn't she have said, "Oh no, he's"?
Well, I guess that ends with the assumption that he kills her. But then, did the coroner not get killed? Because they also mentioned that the Loomis alludes to Michael is being transported by the police department, and that's where it got lost. That's where his body got lost. So did that car crash happen where our favorite coroner, his assistant, said all the fucks and just made noises at the camera for way too long?
Is that guy only typecast as like a scumbag?
Richard Brake, I believe that was.
Yeah, right. I mean, is that just like whenever Hollywood needs like a really scummy looking dude, like get him on the phone.
I mean, he's the Night King, right?
Is he?
For 2 episodes, I believe.
Okay. The first time I ever saw him was in Doom. He was one of like the troopers in Doom with The Rock.
Mm-hmm.
And the entire time he's just like super, super disgusting. And he makes a lot of really off-putting jokes.
Mm-hmm.
And anytime I see this guy, he's always just making weird jokes and being just gross. So
he's also Joe Chill in Batman Begins.
That's right. Yeah, see, he's a scumbag.
Yeah, probably.
He's a bad dude. That's got to be pretty tough, and like, hey Richard, we need like a rapist for this movie. You want to come in here? Yeah, I guess so.
Or a grave robber in The Munsters.
That's right. Yeah. Or like, he's the mad scientist.
Yeah. So, Halloween 2 from 2009 is directed by Rob Zombie, who directed House of a Thousand Corpses, The Devil's Rejects, 31, Lords of Salem, others, including this year's The Munsters. Stars Scout Taylor Compton, Tyler Main, Malcolm McDowell, Sherry Moon Zombie, Brad Dourif, Danielle Harris, Caroline Williams, Dayton Kiley, Richard Brake, Margot Kidder, Bree Grant, Angela Trimber, and Howard Hessman. Has an IMDb score of 4.8 and a Rotten Tomato score of 23%. Budget, $15 million. Box office, 39.4. I was surprised by that. Only 39.4, just because horror movies historically do well.
Yeah,
in theaters.
especially Halloween ones, right?
Yeah.
Now, it's funny, real quick. Tyler Mane that plays Michael, and in the movie they really make him look. He played Sabretooth as well in the first X-Men movie,
Mm-hmm.
and they kind of just make him look like Sabretooth, right?
Yeah.
He's wearing like the long ratty trench coat, the big beard. Like, yeah, he's essentially Sabretooth as Michael Myers.
Yeah, for as much work as Zombie does in the first half of the first movie to give Michael a backstory and give him a story at all, he really doesn't follow through with it with adult Michael through 2 movies. So all that the first 40 minutes is just dicking us around until you just get another Michael Myers, you know? He just doesn't talk, doesn't say anything, just goes around killing people. It's like,
Yep.
Didn't need that first 40 minutes. And it is a long 40 minutes. So we have Sherry Moon Zombie stripping, pole dancing to Love Hurts. Good lord. His for a guy that's in music, his needle drops are terrible.
Yep. And it's a lot of unknown music.
Yeah.
He's not in touch with what kids listen to. I think you're
talking more about the Munsters at this point, but yeah.
With everything. Like in this movie, along with the Marilyn, along with the Manson poster, she also has like a Alice Cooper poster. Like, what teenager in today's age, or I guess in 2009, would have an Alice Cooper poster?
It's so fucking cliche too, isn't it?
Yeah, of course.
It's like, what can we put on her wall to show that she's going down a dark path? Oh, let's put an Alice Cooper poster on the wall. It's probably like Rob Zombie's Alice Cooper poster or something like that.
Could be, yeah. And what is it, like Knights of White Satin is playing at the beginning?
Yeah.
Forever.
Yeah.
Yeah, and at the coffee shop, the delay between when the girl says, "I got something to put on," or whatever she says, and then it actually starting the song, I guess leads to the point of him not knowing like exactly when to just drop the song in, sort of thing.
Maybe bad editing.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have like some redneck band playing, and this is still Haddonfield, right? Like was Haddonfield supposed to be that way, or is it just how he envisions Haddonfield? It's his Haddonfield, I guess.
Yeah, I think what I always felt with these 2 Halloween movies is that Rob Zombie really wanted to make a Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie.
That might have been up his alley, but like more so.
Yeah, but I don't know why he wouldn't have been able to do that though. They make Texas Chainsaw Massacre movies like every 3 years.
Yeah, right. I mean, when was the one with Jessica Biel? Was that like 2005?
I think that might have been like 2003.
Okay, so there's plenty of time in between there.
Yeah.
I guess he just liked Halloween more.
I guess he doesn't seem to have an appreciation for it though.
Yeah. I was thinking about this on the way to setting up for the recording. A lot of times you'll hear people say, this guy or this woman, this person tried to put their own stamp on this. They tried to do something different with it. Okay, that's all well and good, but that shouldn't give you an automatic pass.
Right. I mean, I'll give him credit. He does take swings here, and like that's what a lot of what Halloween Ends does is it takes big swings. It's not necessarily the swings I liked or wanted, but yeah, I get what you're saying.
One of the things I read recently about Halloween Ends, they asked was David Gordon Green. He wrote it and directed it.
Yep.
And they asked him, and he responded that, this movie was never meant to be a Michael versus Laurie Strode movie. Like, all right, well, no one told the marketing department that because everything is her facing off against Michael Myers or them standing back to back, and like Laurie's gonna end it. And like, so how are you gonna say that you didn't mean for this to be this way? I don't quite understand where the disconnect was.
Yeah. You guys want to get into the plot?
Let's do it.
Dan, what do you got for us?
Want to give a quick shout out to our friends Tia and Brittany, and we would like for you to go over to geekvibesnation.com and check out their podcast, Top 10 with Tia, a weekly podcast where Tia and Brittany run down their top 10 lists of the week. So if that's something that you enjoy, please, like I said, go over to geekvibesnation.com, just search top 10 with Tia, and it will pop right up.
Okay, great. And we are going to take a quick break, and you guys are going to listen to messages from friends of the podcast, and we'll be right back.
Hey, this is Ken M.
and Padawan J.
from the ODPH podcast.
Each week, we talk a parlay of topics.
That's right, whether it's sports, pro wrestling, movies, TV, comics, and more, we've got a take on it.
And don't forget, odphpodcast.com for links for Patreon, TeePublic, and the Parlay Points blogs, and much more.
Thanks for listening to the ODPH podcast. Now back to your regularly scheduled show.
Welcome, travelers. Seems like you're looking for a story. Well, I got one for you. It involves adventure, friendship, and all sorts of...
Earl, why don't you tell him about that time I stole that big-ass melon?
Yeah, I was going for more...
Or you could tell him about the time I kicked her ass, Earl.
I wouldn't ever tell him.
Do I need to get my ref gear on?
Okay, everyone, shut up. Now come with me as I tell you a story from afar. Hey everybody, my name's David. I'm the DM for From Afar Podcast. From Afar Podcast is all about four friends separated by distance, but brought together by adventure. Hope you all stop by and give us a listen. Thanks.
And welcome back. Now it's time to get into plot for Halloween 2. We open on a title card explaining what the imagery of a white horse means. And, I'm always instilled with confidence when a movie has to just come right out and explain an upcoming motif before we actually see it.
Real quick.
That's such a good sign.
Yeah. What was more ham-fisted, the white horse in this or the white horse in Game of Thrones finale?
I don't even remember the white horse in the Game of Thrones finale.
There's a lone after Daenerys destroys King's Landing. There's a lone white horse in the middle of it, and Arya sees the white horse.
Don't remember.
Yeah, it makes no sense. I don't.
Well,
neither of them should be there.
Maybe it means exactly what it means here.
I'm sure. I'm assuming it's the same meaning, but they both don't really belong in those mediums, I guess, or those properties.
Yeah. So the title card in this says, give me a second. White horse linked to instinct, purity, and the drive of the physical body to release powerful and emotional forces like rage with ensuing chaos and destruction.
Well, there you go, right? Daenerys destroying things. So there's the white horse.
Yep. And yeah, I feel like he read that once. And I was like, I'm going to make a note of that. We then cut to Sherry Moon Zombie. It's Michael's mom visiting him in the mental hospital when he was a kid. And I think they shot everything with only a shotgun mic because the audio is absolute garbage here. And Michael tells her about a dream he had. And basically the whole takeaway is white, white, white. She was dressed in white in a white hallway with a white horse. And then she says something that she wants to take him home, but he has to go get better first. And then we cut to the night of the first film 15 years later with Laurie walking down the street, bloodied, in shock with a gun. Sheriff Brackett, played by Brad Dourif, drives up and stops her and takes the gun from her. She says that she killed him and starts to break down, and he tries to calm her down. And we cut to her freaking out as they wheel her into the hospital, and then she goes into surgery. Back at the Myers house, Loomis gets put into an ambulance, and Michael Myers is put into the back of the coroner's van. The coroner and his assistant drive Michael back to county, and the assistant starts making comments about how he wished he got a chance to fuck the girl that he just bagged up, which I believe was Linda from the first film. And the coroner makes a joke in similar fashion, then he takes his eyes off the road and obliterates a cow standing in the middle of the street.
I wrote down in my notes, in this movie, Rob Zombie kind of has a proclivity for killing animals, right? Because the cow dies, the dog dies, and Rob Zombie's a vegan.
Well, when the dog dies, he does juxtapose that with Brad Dourif as Sheriff Brackett, commenting on how great it is to eat meat and how human it is to eat meat. So right. I think he is making a vegan point there.
You think so?
Yeah,
I didn't pick up on that.
So Brackett's like, oh no, well it's human nature to eat meat, so okay. I'm allowed to eat meat, and then it cuts to Michael eating the dog. And just kind of like, well,
and he's not human, right?
Or I think it's just subverting the idea of processed meat being okay to eat, and then Michael eating basically a family pet Or like
Okay.
what it's like what's the difference, basically, I think was the point that was trying to be made.
Interesting. Okay.
The coroner dies instantly, but the other guy unfortunately is alive initially and just says fuck an awful lot and makes ridiculous faces. It goes on far too long until Michael wakes up from the back, grabs a shard of the windshield, and uses it to cut the guy's head off, putting us all out of his misery. Then he sees his mom in the distance, dressed in white, holding a white horse.
How many times does she show up in this movie?
A lot. I don't
Right?
even know.
Probably over 10. Over 10 times, I'd say, right?
Yeah, probably, because she's showing up in his visions as well as Laurie's.
Yeah.
And then Laurie wakes up in a hospital room where an out-of-date television is playing a performance of Moody Blues in black and white to Nights in White Satin. Because white. Get it, guys?
You get it?
It's the fucking theme.
Yeah.
And then Laurie gets out of her room and finds Annie Brackett in her hospital bed, but then Octavia Spencer, who's playing a nurse named Octavia, ushers her back to her room before she gets called away and leaves Laurie in the hallway to go back to her room by herself. Laurie then tries to go under her own power, but immediately calls out for help from the nurse. But when Octavia comes back, she has been attacked by someone in another room, blood dripping down her chest. She falls to the floor, and then Michael comes out of the room and savagely stabs Octavia Spencer the rest of the way to death as the Moody Blues plays. Because it's white satin, guys.
Oh, white.
White.
Yeah, in case you forgot, White Horse is linked to instinct, purity, and the drive of physical body to release powerful and emotional forces like rage, ensuing chaos, and destruction.
Now, Ant, is this the last time we're going to hear about the white motif in this movie?
This isn't even the last time you're going to hear the Moody Blues play Nights in White Satin. That same 1975 television is going to show up in the security office.
Again, Halloween doesn't need to be a deep dive into the subconscious, you know. It's a slasher movie, you know. Don't need to really figure out, you know, like all the deeper meanings here. It's just a guy killing people.
Yeah, and also it's just like, okay, well, what's your point, right?
Because yeah, we know he's a psycho killer.
Right. Not to read this for a third time, but linked to instinct, purity, and the drive of the physical body to release powerful and emotional forces like rage with ensuing chaos and destruction. Okay. Yeah, we get it.
Right.
Up till this point, we've watched 7 movies where he's done that. What's your point, Rob?
Now, I think a better thing to do would be Michael kills nobody, and it's someone else doing the killing. Because that would really spin people through a fucking loop.
Like Laurie.
That's M. Night Shyamalan's Halloween.
Right.
What if it's someone else is going around killing people and Michael's just getting a bad rap?
Right, like he's really trying to go on the straight and narrow.
I'm gonna get fucking blamed for this.
And it's just him at a cubicle with the mask on. You know, 5 murdered in a strip club. And I'm like, oh boy.
And then he tries to hunt the other killer. And he's always one step behind him.
Oh, that's good.
And he used the same fucking knife. God damn it!
Michael essentially becomes the Loomis.
Ooh, and I can just imagine this happening, and he's at work or whatever, and he gets a call into like the HR office, and like, I know this looks bad, but I'm telling you, it wasn't me this time. I swear to God. Well, I don't know, Michael. They even the murder weapon was a butcher knife. Oh, son of a bitch! And I have a hard time talking myself out of this one. We have 24 hours to solve the case.
This is now a Tim Robinson sketch. Maybe it's just the office setting.
Yeah, probably. I would watch that. That's such a good twist on a slasher movie.
Michael pursues Laurie down the stairwell and out in the rain. Laurie hides in a security booth in the parking lot. Then Richard Reel shows up as the security guard, and Laurie tries to explain to him that someone is after her. But he keeps talking over her, and he says he's going to go get his car, and he'll bring her to get some help. And then he disappears. A really long, agonizing moment, waiting for him to come back, but he does come back a bit later. And then the Moody Blues starts playing again on the TV, which wasn't on a second ago. And
it's the only song that plays in this hospital.
And it's from a like the Ed Sullivan Show in 1964. Why?
Was that the only version they could get?
Yeah. It's not like it's like one of those late night infomercials about the Flower Power 60s compilation albums. It's
With
just
such hit songs as
White Knights in White Satin and Mrs. Brown, you have a lovely daughter.
Yeah,
Uh,
I kept thinking to myself, like, this song is only like 2.5 minutes long.
Yeah.
Why is it playing for 20 minutes?
Like I get like a lot of movies they just play things that they can get the rights to without having to pay a lot. And obviously this plays into the motif. But like then she's like watching like black and white cartoons later. It's like Jesus, the TV doesn't need to be even on. This is so silly.
Yeah, again, Zombie he does not have his finger on the pulse of today's youth.
No.
Or
Yeah.
in 2009.
If you
Hey,
didn't
kids are
catch
still
it,
watching the Woody Woodpecker cartoon, right?
right? If you didn't catch it, Richard Reel's name is Buddy in this, as is her stuffed animal's name is also Buddy.
Oh, I did not catch that.
But as he goes to open the door, Michael axes him in the back, then starts going fucking ham on the security booth, basically ripping it to shreds.
How
Breaks
great
down a
would it
wood-
have been? I'm sorry to interrupt, but how great would it have been if when Michael axes Buddy in the back, Buddy says, "I'm no good at this. I'm really bad at this."
Yeah.
Dead.
He breaks down a window and busts in, then takes an axe to Lori, and then she wakes up, and it was all a dream. And it's 1 year later on October 29th, although in the director's cut, it was 2 years later, which I did not watch the director's cut.
What's
Lori's
the
now...
difference?
That's weird.
It's like 20 extra minutes.
No, but what's the difference between making it a year or 2 years?
I don't know. It's a good question.
Yeah, interesting. Okay.
We'll have to ask Rob.
Yeah, I'm sure he doesn't even know.
Lori is now fully medicated, living with the brackets. Annie survived the attack as well. Sheriff goes to work, and Annie asks Lori about her dream, but Lori says she doesn't really remember it, and then goes to a therapist appointment. Therapist, played by Margot Kidder, tells Lori that the dreams make sense because they've never found Michael's body, and Lori is looking for closure. Lori also mentions she is thinking about her parents a lot, and she starts to shut down. Meanwhile, Loomis is on a book tour, and he's a real Weasley opportunist being shadowed by his assistant, and he's having hissy fits about his headshot and demanding very specific tea orders. Lori goes to work at Uncle Meat's Java Hole, a coffee shop / bookstore run by Howard Hessman.
Rob Zombie is like the king of finding super obscure locations. Nothing feels lived in, if that makes sense.
Sure.
There can't be a place known as that, right?
Right, yeah.
That's specifically a Rob Zombie store.
Yeah. If you told me that was like a place that Captain Spaulding ran.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's another thing, like the fucking names. Like Captain Spaulding, what the fuck is that? Uncle Meat, what?
Yeah, what again? It's just like it's Rob Zombie's twisted idea. Like, yeah, this is what would be in my world.
Yeah. This is what a business would sound like.
In Haddonfield.
Yeah. Who wouldn't want to get coffee at Uncle Meat's Java Hole?
And I'm kind of jumping ahead for a second here, but again, there's a Halloween party later in the film, and there's just like naked porn stars at this party.
Yeah, it's like strippers.
Yeah, this is Haddonfield in Halloween. What are you doing? This is like a small town.
It's a small town. It's a party in a barn. But it's like, oh, we also have strippers here.
Yeah, what is he doing?
Yeah.
Again, this is what it would be like in my world. I would have just random strippers at a barnyard party.
Right. Everything looks like a Rob Zombie music.
Yeah, everything's doused in red. Just random, super random cuts, really fast cuts. It's very disorienting.
Yeah. And at Uncle Meat's Java Hole, Laurie's friends Maya and Harley talk about a party they're going to for Halloween and try to convince Laurie that their costume theme is great. They dance to MC5. Back with Loomis, he has a public appearance where he starts answering questions about his book and his work with Michael. The first question is whether he feels responsible for the events of the previous Halloween and whether or not he thinks Michael is dead or not. And he's a meltdown in front of everyone, screaming at them that Michael Myers is in fact dead.
Real quick, how would he be responsible for Michael? Because he didn't release him. Michael escaped in the first one.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure where I haven't seen the first one in a while, the Rob Zombie one, so I don't remember how close they stick to. I think for the most part they do stick to the original pretty faithfully, despite
And
it being a Rob Zombie movie, right?
Michael kills Danny Trejo in the first movie and escapes.
Right. Yeah.
So I think at one point, Loomis is talking to an adult Michael, and he tells him like I've done all I can for you. I can't keep coming here. This is the last time you're going to see me, and that's it. He doesn't release him like in the newer Halloween, the David Gordon Green one, where the psychiatrist purposely releases Michael. He makes sure that it happens. Yeah, Loomis is just, I'm kind of wiping my hands of you, and I've come to the end. So
yeah,
I don't think what would he have done to facilitate Michael's killing spree?
Yeah, unless just giving up on him, but that's
stupid.
That's too much. That's too much of a leap of faith for like a normal, like run of the mill person, you know?
Yeah. Who's gonna know?
Yeah.
Right? If you told me today that some serial killer got out by accident, like I'm not gonna go blame if there was a psychiatrist, I'm not gonna blame them.
Sure.
Like, well, why didn't you work with them longer? What are you talking about? I worked with them for years. What am I supposed to do?
Yeah. And we then cut to a barn in the middle of nowhere as adult Michael sees a vision of his mother telling him she's counting on him to bring us home this year, she says. Meanwhile, a bunch of hillbillies in a truck come across Michael on their land, so they beat the shit out of him. But as they go to leave, he gets up and shithouses all of them, slicing one guy in the eyes before stabbing him, impaling another one on the antlers tied to his front of his truck, and dragging the woman out and stabbing the shit out of her. Very mean towards women in this movie, to be honest with you.
She was nice to him.
Like uncomfortably mean to women.
Which doesn't make sense because women have only ever shown him kindness in these two movies, right? Because the mom is maybe not the greatest mom, but she would always visit him and she loved him. Even the woman in this movie with the two, like the dad and the brother, I guess, she's like, "Oh, leave him alone," and she's apologizing. I'm so sorry. And Michael just does not give a shit. He's like, well, too bad.
Yeah. I mean, like, obviously women usually don't fare very well in horror movies, but I mean, just how brutal the kills are. It's like, man, I feel like Rob Zombie's working through some stuff that I'm not super comfortable with taking the ride with him.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of. I mean, you get Buddy gets axed. The two rednecks, they get sliced up. One guy gets his head cut off, so that's not great. Not like very slowly.
Yeah,
but
it's just
like he tortures the women almost.
Like the stripper that just gets her face bashed in repeatedly just feels really personal.
Yeah, he takes his time with the women.
Yeah, not great. Back at brackets, the sheriff brings pizza home and talks about Lee Marvin and the evolutionary necessity of humans eating meat. Because then also we watch Michael cutting up and eating the hillbilly's dog at that very moment. For some reason, Lori then gets sick, then runs to the bathroom and throws up. I guess she's just been drinking. She's like an alcoholic, I guess.
Yeah, that's a good question.
She actually ate that dog.
That's could be.
Right. I took it as, is there like a link between her and Michael, and she's experiencing what he's experiencing there?
I don't know. Michael seems to like it. Michael ate a dog in the original.
I don't remember that.
In the original movie, they say that there's like a dead dog.
Oh,
in Myers' house.
Yeah, they cover that in the newer Halloween too, right? Yeah.
Michael then has visions of a My Chemical Romance video starring his mom.
Pretty good.
And then Lori pops up in the vision, and then it's actually Lori's dream, maybe. Meanwhile, Loomis is doing a publicity stunt at the Myers house, even though his publicist thinks it's a really bad idea. As Lori gets ready for a shower, she then has a dream about slitting Annie's throat and also the My Chemical Romance video again. But it all winds up just being a dream. Brackett watches a news report with Loomis as he talks about Michael and blames Sheriff Brackett for losing Michael's body. Meanwhile, a bunch of D-gens at the Rabbit in Red strip club watch a news report of the owner, Big Lou, dressed in a Frankenstein costume, try and drum up business for his club. As his very surly bartender watches on with him and gives him shit under his breath. Both of these guys, Daniel Roebuck and Jeff Daniel Phillips, were Grandpa and Herman in the Munsters, respectively. And then Daniel Roebuck, reversely, is dressed up as Frankenstein in the news report.
Thought that was pretty interesting.
Rob Zombie planting those seeds early on for his garbage monsters movie.
It's never too early.
Yeah. Howard, the bartender, goes to throw out some trash in the dumpsters when Michael shows up. Howard tries to intimidate Michael, but when he doesn't respond, he punches Michael in the face. No selling that punch, Michael then beats the shit out of him, pummeling his face into mush. Back in the club, the owner, Big Lou, is ready to fuck his stripper in his office when Michael walks in. Lou tells him to leave, and when Michael doesn't, Lou pulls a gun. But Lou doesn't understand guns, I suppose, so then he goes into melee range with it, and then immediately gets beaten up by Michael.
Thank you. I said the same thing. Like this, I don't know if this man knows how guns work.
Yeah.
The whole point is not to be close to your assailant.
Yeah. The stripper goes to run while Lou gets the shit kicked out of him, but Michael has locked the door and has strung up Howard's body. Michael finished beating the shit out of Lou, then turns his attention to the stripper, smashing her face into a mirror multiple times. At his office, Brackett looks over Loomis's book and comes across a page with Laurie's picture. Brackett gets pissed and immediately calls home to try and find Laurie. But Annie says she isn't home. Meanwhile, Laurie is walking around town petting pigs in a petting zoo and comes across a bookstore with a full display of Loomis's book. Loomis is at a book signing where he gets the usual weird true crime fans, then gets accosted by Linda's dad, who then pulls a gun on him before he's taken away by security. And in a limo after the event, his publicist tells him that she thinks the book does go too far in some instances, and that it's people's lives that he's writing about. Laurie opens the book in her car and comes across a picture of her and starts to break down. She goes back to the Brackets and starts to pack up her things. Annie tries to stop her, but Laurie assumes that Annie also knew that she was Michael's sister, and she tells Annie to tell her that Angel says fuck you and leaves. Annie doesn't know what that means, but she calls her dad and relays this message. Brackett tells one of his deputies to go home to his house and stay out in front all night. I don't know if my notes made this clear. Laurie has found out and realizes that she is Michael's sister, just like the original second movie, which makes no sense.
Didn't do that.
Yeah.
But then
Way
I
to
guess
go.
you kind of lose the whole meaning of the second half of the movie, right?
Way to go, John Carpenter.
But you see what happens when you get drunk, guys?
Yep, it's true.
It's
Lay
not
off the
always
alcohol.
fun. A lot of mistakes are made on alcohol.
Yeah. Laurie drives over to her friend's house and tells them both that she just found out that she's Michael's sister and is obviously quite upset about it. And their house is a piece of shit, too. Like, yeah, I thought Laurie's room was garbage. This house is, man, it must be like their mortgage must be like $20 or something like that.
There's no good looking location.
Yeah.
In
Like
this place.
the outside of Brackett's house looks so nice. It's like a nice farmhouse. And like the inside is just this drab, ugly place.
It looks like it hasn't been cleaned in a decade.
Right. Yeah. They're all just like, I feel like they're all just like stepping over beer cans. Everybody in this whole movie is just constantly sifting through, walking through just empty beer cans on the floor.
You know where this would fit better? You know what movie these places would fit better in?
Like The Devil's Rejects?
Either The Devil's Rejects or Saw. A
Sure.
Saw movie.
Yeah.
Because everything's poorly lit, grimy, like Mark said at the beginning. And just overall, I mean, even the bathroom. The bathroom looks like the bathroom from the first Saw movie.
Yeah, the bathroom's is worse than her bedroom.
It's gross.
If I was Brackett, I'd be like, this is my fucking house. Stop treating it like it's like the cement under an overpass.
I'm the sheriff of the fucking police department, goddammit.
Yeah.
Listen to me.
My house shouldn't look like a flop house.
Yeah. Oh man, it's so jarring. And but it's everywhere. I think the nicest looking place is probably the strip club.
Yeah, probably.
It's the cleanest.
Most definitely, yeah. Loomis then goes on the Chris Hardwick show because it's 2009 and meets Weird Al Yankovic. Chris Hardwick, known for his hard-hitting interviews, asks Loomis what it's like to profiteer off of the lives of victims. And immediately after, we see Loomis tear into his publicist for being embarrassed on television. And back at her friend's house, Laurie convinces both of them that she wants to go out and party and get drunk and not give a fuck. I thought she was going to hit her head on the ceiling fan that was flying around, but that did not happen.
They definitely shot it that way.
Yeah, she's going to stand up and get hit by one of the blades.
Yep.
So they go to the party where they're planning on going, dressed as characters from Rocky Horror. Meanwhile, Annie is fighting with the deputy back at the Brackets. Everybody's getting trashed at this party that's in this barn. Women are dancing with their tits out for some reason. Herman Munster is back as another character doing really terrible comedy, very much like Herman Munster.
I was going to say he's getting ready for his Herman Munster role.
Right, because in the Munsters, there's a scene where Herman Munster is doing stand-up because he has the brain of Shecky Green or whatever.
Stand-up comedian.
It's just, oh man, we could do an entire episode on the Munsters, but that's not this episode. Just Rob Zombie's got the pulse, got the finger on the pulse of what the kids are talking about. Hacky comedian names like Shecky Green.
Yeah, and mimes.
Yeah.
Mimes from the 1940s.
And Harley, one of Laurie's friends, goes to a van with a guy dressed as a werewolf to fuck. But right before doing the deed, the guy decides he needs to take a piss. So he goes out to piss, then immediately gets stabbed in the back by Michael as he's peeing. Shame, dude.
Yeah, that's probably the worst thing Michael Myers has ever done.
Right?
His, cock block.
Yeah, wait till after.
Yeah.
I mean,
the guy's dressed up as a werewolf, and he drives around in a wagon. You know he's not getting any.
Yeah. Then Michael breaks through the back of the van and then strangles Harley to death. Back at his hotel, Loomis watches some of his embarrassing TV interview. And while back at the party, Laurie is pretty drunk, looking for Maya, having a hard time standing or seeing straight. And then she sees her mother and child, Michael. And the vision of her mother tells her it's almost time to come home. And then she imagines being grabbed by adult Michael and freaks out in the middle of the dance floor until her friend Maya snaps her out of it and they leave the party.
And she's like immediately okay.
Mm-hmm.
Right, she's screaming. Then all of a sudden, oh, I'm good. I'm drunk.
Back at the Brackets, the sheriff calls his daughter to check in, and the deputy gets himself impaled on his own shotgun by Michael, who comes out of the darkness. Annie goes to take a shower, but Michael's there, and there's a slow-mo chase, and we hear Annie scream for help with some carnage happening off-screen. Maya takes Laurie home to the Brackets, and they both walk right by the dead deputy. And they come into the carnage that was left by Michael. They find Annie in the bathroom, bleeding out but clinging to life. Laurie tells Maya to call 911 as she attends to Annie, calling her baby the entire time.
I had written down, say baby one more time. That'll help her.
Like, was there any part from the first one where there was a romantic relationship between these two? I can't remember.
No, they're just friends as far as I can remember.
Okay, so baby isn't like a romantic term of endearment here.
No, I think it's kind of like just not a pet name, but just a nickname that she gave her, I'd say.
Okay, like baby from
like Baby Driver.
I was like thinking Dirty Dancing.
Oh, baby in the corner. Yeah, that makes more sense. No, yeah, I didn't. Again, I think it's just the writing or the directing there. It's like, yeah, like just what would you say to your dying friend? Like, oh, baby, don't go, baby. I'm like, oh, all right, we get the picture.
Mm-hmm. Makes me uncomfortable. The constant use of the word baby. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's a very odd scene. Again, just Michael torturing a young girl, right? Because he doesn't kill her outright. He just like beats the shit out of her and leaves her to die.
Yeah. Maya goes outside to figure out the address and then gets manhandled by Michael before he stabs her to death on the trash cans. Back at the sheriff's office, one of the deputies tells Brackett that a 911 call just came from his house and he races off. And he tells Laurie to run, but Laurie says she won't leave her, and then Annie just dies on the floor in Laurie's arms. Then Michael starts to break down the door, and Laurie makes her way through the house, past Maya's dead body, and into the woods as Michael pursues her. Sheriff Brackett returns home to find the body of his daughter and breaks down, having to be carried out by the deputies. Laurie makes it to the road in a car driven by Sean Whalen, who we've covered a few times. He puts her in his car and goes to bring her to someone that can help, but then immediately Michael flips the car and kills Sean Whalen. Michael then pulls Laurie out of the car and brings her back to his shack with his ghost mom and younger version of himself in tow. Meanwhile, one of the deputies, inexplicably played by Dauber from Coach or Patrick Starr for the kids out there, tells him that they found another body on the road, so Brackett scrambles the team and orders more men. In the shack, Michael and Laurie are having a shared psychotic episode, both of them imagining their mother and young Michael holding Laurie down. And the mother orders Laurie to tell her that she loves her, which she complies. Brackett shows up with a team of men and helicopters that have now surrounded the shack. And in his hotel, Loomis sees the report that the cops have Myers surrounded, so he goes to the scene in an attempt to quote-unquote help, and immediately gets punched out by Brackett. Brackett basically blaming everything on Loomis up until this point. So, despite Brackett telling Loomis to get lost, Loomis walks right up to the shack and comes into the fray to try and talk some sense into Michael to let Lori go. But when he gets there, he realizes that Lori is in her own psychosis, battling against a young Michael she thinks is holding her down. So while Loomis tries to talk some sense into her, Michael gets a signal from his ghost mom and then attacks Loomis, first throwing him down and then stabbing him repeatedly. As he does, he steps in front of a window, allowing Brackett a clear shot with a rifle. It hits Michael twice, knocking him back, and he impales himself on a piece of farming equipment. This all, for some reason, brings Lori out of it. She goes over to Michael's body, who raises his knife but then dies, so she takes it from him and then repeatedly stabs Michael. She then walks out of the shack with Michael's mask on and then falls to her knees, removing the mask. And we then transition to a psychiatric ward where Lori is being held in isolation, and she sees her mother walk towards her with a white horse, and a sinister smile comes on Lori's face. And that is the end of Halloween 2.
You left out the awful theme redux.
Oh, right. Yeah.
It sounds like it's being played on a xylophone.
Yeah, it's a mixed bag, I think. Maybe I'm a little kinder to this movie because I have watched, in the past week, I've watched Halloween Kills and Halloween Ends. So maybe this is kinder eyes looking at this movie. But, yeah.
I still think my suggestion is the best way this movie should have went.
Sure. Yeah, I don't see a problem with that. I'll give, again, I give Zombie credit for trying to do his own spin on the mythos, even though it falls flat for me.
Yeah.
I did enjoy some of the killings. Zombie is very, he doesn't shy away from the gore. So if you're a gore hound,
it's visceral.
Yeah, you're gonna like these movies if that's more your speed. To me, I enjoy gore when it's being played up for like schlock.
Yeah.
If you're trying to make a good horror movie, I remember, and we were talking about this at your house a couple weeks ago, like quote unquote elevated horror. You're usually not going to see a lot of that in one of those movies.
Right.
Yeah, I think if you're doing it for gore's sake and playing it straight as Zombie is, it's a little excessive.
Yeah, and I think there's a question of like, gore that's inventive. That's
Sure.
different than, all right, Michael's just gonna beat this person's brains in for far too long.
Yeah.
That's not quite as fun, let's say.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of a detriment to killers like Michael or Jason because there's only so much you can do with them in terms of the kills. You know what I mean? It's either stabbing or bludgeoning, really. That's why I feel as if someone like Freddy Krueger was a better killer,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because you could be more inventive with him. You could have, like in the Dream Warriors, he morphs his hands into the hypodermic needles, right? And like overdoses that one girl.
Yeah.
Or like smashes the one girl's head into the TV. It was prime time, bitch. Boom. Yeah, with Michael, I'm like, all right, he's gonna stab people to death. That's kind of his whole shtick, and you really can only go so far with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Any last words on Halloween 2? I think we kind of said what we had to say.
Stop making Halloween movies.
Yeah, that's a
Please.
start.
Well, it'll be another 5 years before we get one, I'm sure.
Yeah. Okay, that's it for the plots. We got a little next segment coming up, but we are going to take a quick break, and you guys are going to listen to some ads, so we pay those bills, and we'll be right back. And welcome back. And now it's time for a little game, similar to the one that we played in Chud, where we had a little cast, and you guys had to figure out what movie it was. This one is called Name That Remake.
Yeah.
So I've taken bunch of horror remakes, and I have 3 of the top billed actors and actresses on it, and you gotta tell me what movie it is. Some of these are gonna be a lot easier than others, but that is our game, and you guys could be a team again if you wanted to.
Yeah,
because that went well last time.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, first one, and I will say, so here's kind of the guidelines I will give you. All within this century, all within about 10 to 15 years of each other. So small range of movies.
Okay.
Got it.
These are all American remakes of American horror films. So it's not The Ring, not the other one, The Grudge, nothing like that. These were originally American movies, or maybe Canadian, but English-speaking movies that were then remade in the 2000s era.
Canadians made horror movies? I didn't think they knew what that was. Like everything's just really nice.
Yes. Two people bumped into each other and one of them didn't say sorry.
There you go.
It's a terror spree up in Canada.
Yeah, I will rephrase and say that it is English speaking original horror movies.
Got it.
Gotcha. Okay, so here's the first one. The first one is Jensen Ackles, Jamie King, and Kerr Smith.
Jensen Ackles, he's the guy that was in the most recent what was it? The Boys, right?
Yes.
Can I throw a guess out there?
Yeah, go ahead.
The Fog?
It is not. Jensen Ackles was in Supernatural as well for like 18 years. You're thinking of an other CW hunk by the name of Tom Welling.
Yes. I actually confused Kerr Smith and Tom Welling, to be honest, which one was in The Fog.
Can you give us a hint?
I can give you a year. Would that be a hint?
Yeah, sure.
2009.
Oh boy.
Let me see.
Is there another actor?
I'm going to pull.
This is a remake, you said, right?
Yep.
Obviously, we're playing the Jamie King, Kerr Smith. Kerr Smith, who is that?
Dawson's Creek.
Okay.
He plays the I guess the first gay character in like those teen soap history.
Okay.
Not that it will help that this movie also stars Tom Atkins.
Oh, is this movie in 3D?
I believe there was a 3D version of this.
Okay. Is it My Bloody Valentine?
It was. Yep.
Okay. The Tom Atkins gave it away.
That's pretty funny.
All right. Next one. Imogen Poots,
Okay.
Elise Shannon, and Lily Donahue.
Imogen Poots. She in 28 Weeks Later. Is it 20? Well, no, 28 Weeks Later is its own movie.
It's a sequel.
Right, it's a sequel.
I will say
he was probably young, I'd imagine, right?
I will say if you need a hint.
Oh, I know what it is. I know
what it is.
Black Christmas.
Black Christmas.
Yeah.
Yep. Nice. Number 3, Dakota Johnson, Tilda Swinton, and Mia Goth.
Suspiria.
Yep.
Sorry, Mark.
These will be better when it's out of horror season for me.
Definitely. I recently watched the because it's on Amazon, right?
Yeah.
Oh, it's so for everyone out there. Watch the original. The new one's just it's not terrible, but it's not good.
They're very different movies.
Yeah, the style is way off.
Number 4, Jane Levy, Shiloh Hernandez, and Jessica Lucas.
Evil Dead.
That is correct.
Nice. That's a good one too. That's a good remake.
Yeah.
Number 5, Rhoda Mitchell, Timothy Oliphant, Danielle Pennebecker.
Crazies.
That's correct.
Nice.
Number 6, Jared Padalecki, Amanda Rigetti, and Derek Mears.
Is he the guy from Big Bang Theory?
No, Jared Padalecki is the other guy from Supernatural.
I've never seen Supernatural.
And Gilmore Girls. That's for the audience, for anybody that's never watched Supernatural, to give them another reference point.
Another reference point of a show that lasted for 17 seasons.
Yeah.
Can you say those names again, Ant? I'm sorry.
Jared Padalecki.
Okay.
Amanda Rigetti. And Derek Mears.
Mark, you have any idea?
Yeah, she's not in many movies. Is it the Friday the 13th?
It is Friday the 13th from 2009.
Wow, look at Mark.
Yeah. Amanda Rigetti got it, because I'm like, I only know her in a couple movies.
Yeah,
so.
I would not have known that one.
Yeah.
Number 7, Garrett Dillahunt, Monica Potter, and Tony Goldwyn.
This one's a tough one. Because I don't know any of those people.
Monica Potter's in Con Air, man.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That doesn't help me.
It is not Con Air, I'll tell you that.
Oh, shit.
Let's see if I can pull up other names. This is another 2009 film.
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't know if this will help me, but is Monica Potter like the star of the movie? Like on the poster and all that?
Wait a minute. Wait, Dawn of the Dead.
Nope.
Shit. All right.
I would say that it is an ensemble cast.
Okay, never mind.
You know who I was thinking of? The father from the show with Ed O'Neill in it, Modern Family. Yeah, because he's in Dawn of the Dead, right? The father.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah.
This also stars Aaron Paul and Sarah Paxton.
Is it what genre? Like what I like, is it a slasher? Is it
I would say it's a horror thriller.
Because one of my guess I was gonna say like Scream 4 or something like that, Scream 5.
Nope. So these are strictly remakes, not sequels.
Oh, not sequels. Okay. I Spit on Your Grave?
You are in the right ballpark.
Oh, okay.
Pet Cemetery?
No, it could only be one thing. The House on the Left.
Correct. Last House on the Left. Yep.
Yeah, because they were like the same movie.
Yeah,
pretty much.
That didn't have Jennifer Lawrence in her. Or am I thinking of another movie that's similar?
You're thinking of The House at the End of the Street.
Yes.
That's it. Okay.
Yeah. Number 8. I have 10 of these.
Okay.
Monica Keena.
Doing pretty good.
Yeah. Monica Keena, Shannon Elizabeth, and Edward Furlong.
Shannon Elizabeth and Edward Furlong. Oh, it's not Night of the Demon.
It is Night of the Demons.
Oh, wow. Shannon Elizabeth's in it?
He is.
Oh, wow. I just remember Edward Furlong being in it. And he looks like a mess.
The bloated corpse of Edward Furlong, I probably should have said.
I remember watching. I was watching it last Halloween because I like the original Night of the Demons. That's isn't Barbara Crampton in that? No, not Barbara Crampton.
Linnea Quigley?
Yes. And I was like, oh, I'll watch this one. And oh my god, it's so sad to see him.
Oof. He looks like an elderly lesbian woman in it.
I feel bad because I'm sure things haven't been all great for him, but yeah, it's time has not been kind to Edward Furlong.
Yeah, the movie's got some really attractive women in it, though.
I think I bowed out before Shannon Elizabeth showed up. I might have got like 15 minutes in, so yeah, maybe she shows up after that.
All right, 2 left. This one might be the toughest one on here. We have Addison Timlin, Anthony Anderson, and Gary Cole.
Anthony Anderson, not Garrett Cole.
So Timlin's the girl from Californication.
Mm-hmm.
It's not Cabin Fever, right?
It is not Cabin Fever.
Anthony Anderson.
Speaking of Gilmore Girls, Edward Herrmann is also in this film before he died.
Edward Herrmann. Was he British? No. What was he in?
He was Richie Rich's dad in Richie Rich, starring Macaulay Culkin.
He was the head vampire in Lost Boys, right?
Yes.
Okay. Is it Lost Boys? Did they do a remake?
No, it's not the Lost Boys.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know this.
Anyone else in the movie? Just it's probably not going to help, but
I'll say this is from 2014. I'm not seeing anybody. Dennis O'Hare, Veronica Cartwright.
See, my problem is I don't have the library of knowledge of horror movies that you guys have.
Like I said, this one is probably the toughest one. Danielle Harris is also in this.
Is this something I would have seen, most likely?
I mean, I've seen it.
Okay. I probably saw the original, I'd imagine. Is it popular?
I would say it's one of the lesser popular ones on here.
Okay.
I just throw out 2 movies that I'm pretty sure the movie that I'm pretty sure had a remake, but I don't know when it was. It's not The Hills Have Eyes, is it?
No.
That's a good guess.
Yeah. That was almost on my list, but there wasn't really anybody in that movie that I felt like was super memorable.
Not Funny Games, right? Funny Games. That's Tim Roth is in that, I think.
And Michael Pitt.
Yeah. Naomi Watts? Yeah, I don't know it.
The Town That Dreaded Sundown.
Yeah. That is a tough one. I didn't know Anthony Anderson was in that. I saw the original.
He needed to have one in there.
Yeah, that was a good one.
All right, last one. Nicole Kidman, Daniel Craig, and Jeffrey Wright.
Oh, the others?
Nope.
No, it's
Nicole Kidman, Daniel Craig, and who?
Jeffrey Wright.
He's Commissioner Gordon, right?
Yep.
The Omen?
Not The Omen.
Oh, that's with Liev Schreiber, right?
Schreiber and Julia Stiles.
Yeah, that's right. Wow, Daniel Craig was in a horror movie?
Veronica Cartwright also shows up in this movie.
Yeah, because I could have sworn it was the other, so I know she's in that. Can you give me a year, or could you give me like the genre, like the type?
2007.
Oh, that's an old one.
Sci-fi horror.
Is it Body Snatchers?
It is The Invasion. Yep.
Invasion. Is that the same thing?
Yeah.
Okay. For some reason, I thought it was just bodies.
Yeah, so this one was just called The Invasion, but it's a remake of The Body Snatchers.
The Invasion of Body Snatchers.
Okay. Interesting.
And that's it. You guys did very well.
Pretty good.
Yeah, that wasn't bad. I'm kind of annoyed that I didn't get the town that dreaded sundown.
Yeah, I thought that one was a little bit lesser known.
Yeah, because I have seen the original, and it's not a popular movie.
Kind of boring.
Yeah, like zero blood in it.
Yeah.
Right. What's set in like the 50s or something like that?
It's very dry.
Yeah. Yeah, very boring.
The sequel's actually pretty good. The remake's actually pretty good.
I gotta watch it. I'm sure it's streaming somewhere. Look it up.
Probably. Yeah. And that's the episode this week. I don't have anything more for you guys.
Nope, that was good enough. I like so far of all the games, I like the trivia.
There you go.
Maybe I'm just a trivia guy.
You're the trivia master.
That's what they say.
I think we have to go back to the archives and listen to how many games Mark won that when we used to do trivia.
When you brought up the idea and I'm like, yeah, maybe we'll do some trivia, my heart sank. I was like, we were fucking terrible at trivia.
Mark was really good at the Anna Nicole Smith one and the Harry Potter one.
Yeah.
And I the only time I aced one was Fantastic Four, Roger Corman's Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
But it's still fun. But I can only imagine the people listening, like, Jesus Christ, these guys they know nothing. There's nothing better than watching a show or like a trivia game where the contestants know zero.
Yeah.
Like, imagine watching Jeopardy and just everybody being negative. That's what it's like with us, pretty much.
Like watching a low-scoring football game.
Right. It's pitcher's duel.
All right. Well, that's going to wrap us up this week. 31 Days of Horror is coming to an end, guys.
I know.
Halloween is Monday, so we'll be back next week with I think on the list it's actually kind of horror-y. Maybe we'll switch that up a little bit. But that's going to wrap us up this week. Check us out on all the socials. If you're listening to this, you know where to find us, but we're on Twitter, Instagram at TickTamPod, and we're also on TikTok at They Call This a Movie, and you can find us wherever you get your podcasts. So check us out. And that's going to wrap us up this week. The director of Halloween 2 is Rob Zombie. So for Dan Aquino and Mark Myers, this is Anthony Delvecchio telling Rob Zombie, well, you certainly made a movie, didn't you? Thanks for listening to They Call This a Movie. Subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts, and be sure to check us out on Twitter and Instagram at TickTamPod. That's TCTAM Pod. You can also check us out on TikTok at They Call This a Movie.